Hello and welcome to a very bright sunny day in northeast Derbyshire. One thing that I get asked a lot is how I go about zeroing my scope. Now, scopes come in various guises. You can have your really cheap things which might serve a purpose if you're just plinking on your back garden. This is my own MTC Mamba with West Hunter mounts that are fully adjustable. But to zero this, or to zero that, you're going to need good ones of these. I know it's back to front, it's because I've got the camera facing the wrong way around. Aerome's Diablo Field. They're the only pellets that I will use in any rifle as a test base. You could have the most expensive scope you can possibly buy. You put it on your rifle, you start taking shots, you try and zero it, and you're getting flyers, or you're getting quite wide groups. That could be because you've not set your scope up right. But, go back to basics. What pellets are you using in your rifle? If you're not using the right pellets for the rifle, you will get flyers. You might get one or two that, when you've zeroed it, the 102 hit perfectly fine. Your next one might be high left, low right. Might not even make it onto the card. It's all down to the choice of your pellets. Always buy a good quality pellet. Aerome's Diablo Field, JSB's, QYS. I've found in testing that an Aerome's Diablo Field pellet has quite a soft skirt. This helps. A lot of people say, oh no, I can't use them, all the skirts are damaged. Once you get that pellet into the breech of the rifle, it'll straighten itself out. When the air comes up the transfer port and hits the back of the pellet, it puffs the skirt out. The skirts are soft. They're designed to be soft. The air puffs the skirt out, the skirt grips the riflings, as does the head. So you get 2 points of contact within your barrel, till it gets down to the choke section, and then it crushes it down a little bit, but you know that your pellet's going to hit. I use either the Aerome's Diablo Field in the in 2.2, I use the 5.52, and in 177 I use 4.52. They're a little bit snugger when they go into the barrel. So you might have spent a few £100 on a decent scope, but you can't zero it. My honest opinion, try some Aerome's pellets or try some JSB pellets just to see what your rifle does with those pellets, because most barrels are pellet fussy. But out of all the pellets that I've ever tried, Aerome's Diablo Field pellets seem to come out the best. No matter what barrel I put them down, I can always group with them. So just bear that in mind. I'm not trying to teach you how to suck eggs, I'm just giving you a bit of friendly advice. When you come to set your rifle up, you stick your scope on, you start taking shots, you get one that's hit. If you're getting flyers, maybe try a different brand of pellets. And remember that when you do change your pellets, you will have to re-zero your scope to those pellets. But if you start off with a good quality pellet, doesn't matter what scope you put on your rifle at all, a good quality pellet will give you the results that you're looking for. So, safe shooting, folks. Now, when it comes to mounting your scope on your rifle, I'm sure you've got good mounts. I bought these West Hunters, which have got a level of adjustability in them. So if you find that you run out of elevation, declination or windage, you can normally deal with that by adjusting the mounts. I've also got a bubble level, so I know that my scope, once it's seated, will be absolutely level. Hopefully everything will be set up nicely. The rifle will be nice and straight. And the bubbles absolutely spot on. So now we come to zeroing your scope. Take a couple of shots, see where the pellet's landing. If you're shooting at a target and you can't see where your pellet's landing on that target, move your target a little bit closer until you can see where it's hitting. Then you can make the adjustment to your scope. if your pellets are hitting, say, left and low, you need to move your scope right and up. It's the opposite to what where the point of impact is. You can mount your rifle in a stand to hold it perfectly level, look through your scope and move your crosshairs onto the point of impact. Then try it again and fine tune it. But I find the best way, I'm shooting here at 20 metres. I always zero my rifle at 30 metres when I go out hunting. But for this purpose, I'm shooting to the top of my garden. I know that from this table to the top of the garden is bang on 20 metres. And I've just literally put this scope on this rifle just so I can see how well it shoots. This is 177 Walther Century, one of the nice ones. And if I just stick a pellet in there, I've literally spent 30 seconds zeroing this scope up, so hopefully when I take aim up here you should hear a bell like that. So getting to grips with your scope, learn how it works, learn how the aim points are used within your scope. Most reticles have got different aim points on them. This is a Springer. PCPs are a lot easier to shoot and work with. Let's get rid of the plastic bag. Let's do my boxing. But with a few twists and turns, like I say, if you can't see where the pellets are landing on your target at 30 metres, come into 15 metres, take a couple of shots, get it roughly where you want it to be, and then move your target back and then zero to that, and then keep moving it back and keep zeroing it until you get your pellets landing where they want to land. So I'm now going to go for one of my spinners that I've got up there, and I know that everyone's going to be saying, yeah, should have shown us, but I'm sure you can hear that. My spinners are right at the top of my garden, 20 metres away. But use the scope. Don't just put it on there and get frustrated that you're not able to zero it. It does take time to get used to it. For all those newcomers out there, when you put a scope on your rifle, no matter what you've spent on a scope, my advice would be to pay a little bit more. Don't go for your cheap ones, because especially if you're putting them on a recoiling rifle, it'll not be long until they start falling apart inside. I like the MTC range. I've tried Hawks. I've had Hawks. Nico Sterling. I've had them. BSAs, Bushnells. But you buy what you can afford. But try and go that little bit further. So if you see a scope at maybe 80 quid, might not be worth buying that. Save your money. Save up a little bit and go for one that's maybe 150 quid. Because that'll last you a hell of a lot longer than what the cheaper one will. So if your point of impact is off, no matter which way your pellet is actually hitting the target, which is your point of impact, moving your scope left, right, up, down will bring it onto zero. Now that might sound easy, left, right, up, down. How many clicks? I normally go 5 at a time. At this kind of range, I go 5 clicks, up, down, left, right, whichever I need to go. And then fine tune it from there. Maybe doing 2 clicks at a time until I get the pellet to land where it needs to land. Yes, there's people out there that will say, I can do that really, really quickly. I can just stick a bore sighter in it and 2 shots and it's done. That can work, yeah. But for those people that don't have a bore sighter, that are just getting into it and want to learn how to use the scope and how to utilise it to its best, you need to get hands-on. You need to really give it a go and see what you can do with it. And that's about it, really. There's many other videos out there that show you how to zero a scope, but the simplest way for me is put out a target. If you can't see where the pellets are landing on that target, move your target closer, wait until you keep moving it until you can get your pellets to hit, and then move the target that you're shooting at that little bit further out and a little bit further out, and that's one of the easiest ways that I've found of zeroing my rifles. So that were another spinner. Right, I'll leave you with it. Here's another quick one for you. Eye relief. How far your eye is away from the ocular bell. Most rifles, when you put your scope on, you want about 3 inch. But what I've noticed with a lot of people is that they're mounting the scope on the rifle and it's too far forward. So much so that when you pick the rifle up, you're craning your neck to get your face into the right position to be able to see through the scope. Now the way that I like to set it up is that take the rifle away from your shoulder, bring your rifle into your shoulder, put your face on the cheek, and you should be able to have full sight picture straight through your scope. If you've got any kind of rings around the outside of the scope picture, so they're too close or too far away from your eye, there's no set rule. It's personal preference. But if you're craning your neck right far forward like that, you're going to fatigue much faster than what you are if you just bring your rifle into your shoulder, put your cheek on the cheek plate, look through, and you should have a full sight picture. Simple really. Just don't mount it too close to your eye, because that's the quickest way to become a pirate, especially if you're using a spring piston rifle. But you should have full sight picture through the ocular bell. If you've not, move your scope forwards and backwards until you get a full sight picture. But don't crane your neck. You shouldn't be hanging off the back of the cheek plate like this. You shouldn't be craning all the way forward like that. It should be really nice and comfortable. As soon as you bring that rifle up to your shoulder and pop your cheek on the cheek plate, you should be able to see straight through that scope and have a perfect sight picture. Easiest way to become fatigued is incorrect mounted scope. So you're reaching, you're craning, your rifle will be off balance, you'll be off balance, and you'll get a stiff neck. So quite simply, mount your scope where it's comfortable. You don't need to get a tape measure out and measure 3 inches away from your eye. Trial and error. Mount it on the scope rails. Leave it so it's a little bit loose, so you can just move it a little bit. Put your cheek on the cheek plate, and you should be able to pick the rifle up, put your cheek on the cheek plate, and have a perfect sight straight through your scope, if it's set up correctly. If you get the rings around the sight picture, possibly too close or too far away.